With all of the new emotions being added to Riley's psyche in Inside Out 2, it might seem tricky to figure out which one will be the hardest for our protagonist to overcome. But after breaking down the differences between ennui, embarrassment, envy, and anxiety, it's starting to seem like the one Riley has to worry about the most is actually the smallest of the bunch, envy. But how exactly is the cutest new emotion going to be the villain of Pixar's latest story? Well, for starters, envy is the sort of emotion that might start out small, but the more you feed and water it, the bigger and more dangerous it can become. Envy is a feeling of discontented or resentful longing for someone else's possessions, qualities, and or luck. It's essentially a person's desire to have something or some quality that belongs to another person. It's a feeling that everyone gets at some point in their life, and if you were lucky enough, you had someone explain that it's okay to want what that other person has, but it's also okay that you don't have it. It's an important life lesson, but we'll talk more about that later. For now, there are a few things that you should know about the emotion envy before considering how it could possibly be the villain in Inside Out 2. First, despite the two words being seemingly synonymous, envy and jealousy are quite different. While envy is the feeling of wanting something you don't have, jealousy is feeling threatened, insecure, or protective of something you already have. Now, the reason why most people think that the two feelings are the same is that jealousy can sometimes take envy's place in a sentence without altering the meaning. Envy can become jealousy, but not the other way around. For instance, in Snow White, the evil queen is envious of Snow because of her beauty, whereas in The Lion King, Scar was jealous that he lost his right as heir to Simba, and in order to protect his chance at the throne, he plotted the king's death and Simba's banishment. They're two similar feelings, but are brought about through different circumstances. That being said, envy could turn into jealousy depending on the situation and how the initial feeling is handled by the person feeling it. In this case, that would be Riley. If she chooses to fuel her envy, it can grow into something far more dangerous, even if she feels it unknowingly. But what makes envy so much more dangerous than any of the other new emotions? In the end, the only logical reason is that anxiety, embarrassment, and ennui are reactive emotions that can become easily manageable if you stay on top of them. Now, what I mean by reactive emotions is the feelings like anxiety or embarrassment are moods that come about as a direct response to something. A good example of this is anxiety. Now, most people don't just suddenly feel anxious without any rhyme or reason. Although it's not totally impossible, most people feel anxiety as a triggered response to something or some place that they're anticipating. Or when someone is embarrassed, they aren't embarrassed for no reason. Most people will only feel that way when they do something public that they think people are judging them for. Then the embarrassment sets in as an emotional response. So while those emotions can be bothersome, they don't usually come up out of the blue, though again, it's not entirely unheard of. And because anxiety, embarrassment, and ennui are usually triggered by something, a person can learn how to manage those feelings responsibly, whether it be knowing what makes them anxious so that they can take the proper preparatory steps to face it, or whether they know exactly what to do to bring the spark back into their life to get rid of any ennui they might be feeling. With the right methods, these emotions can become just another part of daily life that's easy to deal with. So what makes envy different and so much more threatening? Well, where anxiety and the rest of the new emotions might be response emotions, envy can be described more like a craving type emotion. It's a feeling that almost leaves you wanting more. And when a person inspires that feeling, the emotion can grow and become evil. As I mentioned before, envy can turn into jealousy, but can also make people do or think some pretty terrible things. Now, we have to remember that this is a Pixar movie, so I'm not suggesting that envy would make Riley go on some sort of true crime spree or anything like that. But maybe the person she becomes envious of is her friend and she decides not to talk to them anymore. Or worse, Riley decides to spread rumors or do something mean to that person simply because her envy grew and turned into something much meaner. In other words, envy might seem like it will be a tiny character based on the movie poster, but it's definitely the type of emotion that's bound to grow over time and become really dangerous. But now this all begs the question, what's going on in Riley's life that will make her feel or possibly even feed her envy in the first place? Honestly, we don't yet know exactly what Riley will be up to in Pixar's newest emotional sequel, but based on her history in the first movie and the fact that she's turning 13, fans have made a few guesses. The first theory involves one of Riley's favorite hobbies from Inside Out, hockey. As you saw in the first film, hockey was one of the biggest joy bringers in Riley's life, and something like that doesn't just go away. This means in the sequel, the character will most likely still be playing the sport. However, according to this theory, there might be a new student this year who wants to join the team and gets a better spot than Riley. Now, Riley would likely feel anxious as she waited for the tryout results, followed followed by feeling embarrassed that she didn't make the team. She might even feel ennui or disinterested in whatever hobby or sport she tries to fill the hockey void with. But in the end, the only feeling she'll have left, according to this theory at least, is the feeling of envy toward the person who took her spot on the team. On the other hand, there's a fan theory floating around suggesting that Riley's envy will be fueled by some sort of relationship drama. Now, you have to remember that Riley will be 13 and perhaps she'll get into her first relationship at school. But as most of us know, young relationships at school tend not to last and they become full of drama, especially when one person starts feeling envious of another. Heck, Riley might not even actually be in a relationship and just have a crush on someone who's dating her friend or something. Either way, the theory suggests that Riley will become envious of her friend who is dating the person that she likes, and perhaps because of that, her envy will grow into something much darker. As I mentioned before, envy is the type of emotion that grows and can turn someone into a hateful and resentful person. For all we know, Riley's feelings of envy could even turn into jealousy, which would spell double trouble for the poor kid. Now, the last theory there is to consider, at least for now, is the idea that Riley will become envious of another student who is getting better grades than her. This would be a similar situation to the hockey theory, only in this case it would involve Riley feeling as though she's not as smart as someone close to her. And that's something that could really hurt a kid's psyche, especially if they try to prove they're smart and end up saying or doing something embarrassing. No matter what theory you think is the best, though, based on Riley's age in the movie, there are countless instances that could make her envious. But even if any of these theories turned out to be true, what would the point of Pixar adding envy to Riley's emotions be? It could be as simple as the fact that there really is a really important life lesson that everyone needs to learn at some point. It's okay to want things that other people have, and you shouldn't punish yourself for feeling envious of someone. However, it's important to know that while being envious is just a part of life, there is a way better feeling that you get when you're grateful for the things that you already have. This is one of the only ways to have what could be a healthy relationship with envy. It's the true feeling of, sure, I wish I had that ice cream cone that the person next to me is eating, but I sure am happy that I have a warm plate of food in front of me. Pixar could illustrate this lesson in a ton of ways, too. For instance, what if the plotline follows one of the theories we mentioned before, let's say the hockey team theory? Well, Riley would have to learn that it's okay to be envious of the person who happened to be picked over her as the team captain, but it's more important to just be happy that she's part of a team to begin with. If she can accept the fact that not everyone is going to have the same exact experiences or possessions in life, it'll be a lot easier to be happy. Better yet, it'll be possible for her to feel happier for others who have the things that she wants instead of resenting them for it, which is always a possibility. There are a lot of lessons that can come with Riley having to tackle such a sly, unpredictable emotion like envy. The only question is, what do you think Riley's going to face in Pixar's Inside Out 2 that would have the potential to make envy so dangerous? Be sure to let me know in the comments below.